She thought her boyfriend was hiding something small, maybe another girl, maybe a secret life. But what she uncovered was so much worse. A covert program, manipulation, and a man who was never supposed to be free. Now they're on the run, hunted, and the truth could cost them everything, even if it killed us. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to write something like this, but after the week I've just had, I honestly don't know where else to turn. Maybe putting it all out there will help me make sense of what the hell just happened. My husband, Jason, and I have been married for 5 years. On the outside, we look like that typical perfect couple. Nice house in the suburbs, stable jobs, the kind of people who throw BBQs in the summer and send out cheesy Christmas cards. But for a while now, something has felt off. It started with small things. He'd say he told me something I know I never. But then I noticed patterns. He'd always forget to include me in plans with his coworkers. Or he'd laugh at me in front of people and claim I was being too sensitive when I got upset. He started criticizing how I dressed, how I spoke, even how I be some. Then last Jason was away, so I did something what he was at a rental cabin 2 towns over. Not near any office, not in a hotel, just a remote little place near a lake. And he was there with someone else, a woman. I wanted to, but I didn't. Instead, I waited. When he came home, I acted like everything was fine. He walked in, kissed me on the cheek, said the trip had been productive, and started telling me about some fake presentation he gave. I let him finish his whole little story before I calmly asked, "How was the lake house?" His face went pale. Dead. Pale. But he didn't break. He didn't admit anything. Instead, he leaned into the lie hard. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "What lake house?" I showed him the pictures. He didn't flinch. "That's not me," he said. I laughed. I mean, what else could I do? He tried to convince me I was hallucinating, that someone must have hacked the cloud, photoshopped the images, that I was being paranoid and crazy. But the kicker? The one thing he forgot? The woman in the photo was wearing my hoodie, the one my sister custom embroidered for me with my initials, and I saw it hanging in the laundry when he got back, reeking of perfume that definitely wasn't mine. When I pointed that out, his mask finally cracked. He mumbled something about needing space, said he didn't want to hurt me, that he was confused. I didn't even respond. I just walked out. I'm staying with my sister now while I figure out what to do next. I haven't filed for divorce yet, but I've already changed my passwords, frozen the joint accounts, and contacted a lawyer. The part that hurts the most isn't even the cheating. It's that he tried to erase my reality, tried to convince me I was crazy when he knew exactly what he was doing. That's the kind of betrayal you don't come back from. And somehow, I think this goes even deeper than I thought. There's one photo in the cloud I can't explain. The same woman, in our bedroom, holding a box I haven't seen in years. A box I thought was hidden. I haven't opened it yet, but I will. I didn't sleep much the night I found the photo. The image wouldn't leave my mind. That woman, standing in our bedroom, holding that box. It was a plain wooden one with a brass clasp. Nothing fancy. I hadn't opened it since before we got married. I had hidden it at the back of my closet, behind old coats and a stack of shoeboxes I haven't touched in years. Inside it was the last piece of something I'd buried a long time ago. Jason wasn't supposed to know about it. Hell, no one was. So when I finally returned home to get a few more things, I didn't just grab clothes. I went straight to the closet and pulled out the box. The clasp was snapped. It had been forced open. My hands were shaking. I already knew what wasn't going to be inside, and I was right. The envelope was gone. It was an old manila envelope, taped shut, with one single photograph and a folded letter. A relic from my past. Proof of something I'd kept secret for nearly a decade, long before Jason and I ever met. And now it was gone. I didn't even have to guess what this meant. He found it. Or she did. Which meant not only had he been cheating on me, but he was snooping through things I never meant anyone to see. Things that could ruin me, depending on how they were used. And suddenly I realized this wasn't just a case of betrayal, it was blackmail, or leverage, or something. Because within 24 hours of finding the empty box, I got an email. No subject, no message body, just an attachment. I opened it. It was the photo from the envelope. Me, sitting in a hospital hallway. Tear-stained face, holding a pregnancy test. The timestamp put it around 9 years ago. A time in my life I've fought very hard to keep buried. The second I saw it, my breath caught. Jason didn't know about that time. I'd never told him about the baby I lost, the man I ran from, or the restraining order I took out to escape a toxic nightmare of a relationship. But someone had told him, and now I had to figure out who. Because if Jason knew this, and if this woman had access to it too, then someone from my past was involved. And I had a sinking feeling I already knew who it was. The man in that old story? He always promised I'd never escape him. Looks like he finally found a way back in. I didn't even bother calling Jason. What was I going to say? Hey, why did your mistress send me a photo from the worst year of my life? Number I needed answers, not more lies. I opened the email again and looked closer. The photo had no metadata. Whoever sent it knew how to scrub it clean. But there was a clue. In the background of the image, there was a blurry hospital sign on the wall. It was in Texas. I hadn't been back there in almost a decade. I left everything behind: job, apartment, friends, even changed my name. That's how badly I wanted out. I took one deep breath and opened an old file I kept on a backup drive. It had the name I never wanted to see again. Troy Whitman, my ex. The man who made my life a waking nightmare. He was controlling, paranoid, and dangerous. The kind of man who could make you feel like everything was your fault, even the bruises you tried to cover with makeup and excuses. He didn't just hurt me, he broke me. And when I finally got away, I never looked back. I changed my number, moved across state lines, deleted every social media account. I was gone. Until now. Because there's no way Jason could have gotten that photo unless someone gave it to him. And Troy? He always said, if I can't have you, no one can. What if he found Jason? What if he fed him stories, half-truths and lies, to poison our marriage from the inside? It was exactly the kind of thing Troy would do. But then, a terrifying thought hit me. What if Jason wasn't just a random guy I met at a conference years ago? What if he was planted? I started digging. Emails, texts, any clue. And I found it. A message Jason sent months before we even met. It was buried in a forgotten folder, a forwarded thread from his friend. The subject line? About that girl I told you about. She's in Seattle now. My stomach dropped. I clicked open the attachment. It was a screenshot of my LinkedIn profile, the one I created after I changed my name. And below it, one sentence from someone I didn't recognize. She'll never see it coming. I stared at it for a long time, then whispered the words I never thought I'd have to say again. Troy sent him. I couldn't breathe. I read that line, "She'll never see it coming," over and over again, hoping, praying, that I had somehow misunderstood. But I hadn't. The date on the message was 3 months before I ever met Jason. The LinkedIn profile was mine, back when I thought I was starting a new life. And the sender? A name I hadn't heard in years, but recognized instantly. Kyle R. Whitman, Troy's cousin. Suddenly everything felt like a lie. Jason didn't meet me by chance. He sought me out. He was sent. The charming man who swept me off my feet, who made me feel safe again after years of trauma. He had been part of Troy's plan from the beginning. I felt sick. I staggered to the kitchen, gripping the counter to keep from collapsing. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open the drawer where I kept an old burner phone, one I hadn't touched since the day I left Texas. I turned it on. No contacts, just a number written on a faded Post-it note stuck inside the case. My old therapist. The only person who knew everything. She picked up on the second ring. Hello? I didn't even say hi. My voice cracked as I asked, "Is it possible for someone to fake love for this long? Like, years?" There was silence on the line. Then, gently, "Tell me what's going on." I told her everything. The email, the photo, the message thread, Kyle's name. And then I asked her the question that had been eating me alive. "Do you think Troy's trying to finish what he started?" Her silence said more than words ever could. Finally, she said, "You need to leave. Now, whatever you're in, it's not safe." And just like that, I knew. Jason wasn't cheating on me out of boredom or some random temptation. He was never mine to begin with. This was Troy's revenge. Slow, strategic, long game. Jason was part of it, maybe even the centerpiece. I looked around my house, our house, and felt a chill. Every memory we had, every moment I thought was real, it was all staged. A performance, for me. But why now? Why unravel it? Why let me find the thread? Unless Jason wanted out. What if he was cracking under pressure? What if he'd grown feelings he wasn't supposed to have? What if the woman, the one who sent the photo, wasn't his mistress, but a warning? I sat down, stunned. Was this betrayal or a confession? And more importantly, what the hell do I do next? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every creak of the floorboards, every hum of the fridge, every car that drove by made my heart race. I was suddenly aware of everything. The cameras Jason had installed for security, the shared bank accounts, the way he always knew where I was, all the little things I once chalked up to love or protection. They felt like surveillance now. By sunrise, I'd packed a small bag. Not everything, just essentials. Passport, some cash, my laptop, the burner phone. I told myself I'd go to work like nothing happened. Pretend, smile, observe. But when I walked into the kitchen, Jason was already there. Coffee, eggs, my favorite mug. His routine, always a little too perfect. He looked up at me and smiled. That smile. "Morning, babe." My stomach flipped. "Morning." He handed me a plate. "You okay?" "You look pale." "I didn't sleep well." Jason tilted his head, looking concerned. "Something happen?" His eyes were calm. Too calm. Like a trained actor hitting his cue. I sat down, pushing the eggs around. Weird dreams, I guess. He leaned on the counter, sipping coffee. "Nightmares?" Something like that. I wanted to scream, to throw the plate and demand answers, but I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I said something calculated. "I think I saw someone from my past yesterday, someone I really didn't expect." Jason froze, for just a second. Barely noticeable. But it was there. "Oh, yeah?" "Who?" I shrugged. "Not sure. Maybe I imagined it." He smiled again, but his grip on the mug tightened ever so slightly. That's when I knew. He was nervous. He knew I was close. But here's the thing. I wasn't afraid anymore. Something had shifted inside me. I had spent years terrified of Troy. Then I spent more years being grateful to Jason for pulling me out. And now I realized they were the same person in different masks. Troy broke me with fists. Jason did it with charm. Both were about control. After breakfast, I left. Not for work, but for a motel 3 towns over. I didn't tell anyone. I used cash. I turned off my phone and used the burner to message the woman from the photos. It was risky, but I needed the truth. I wrote, "I know who Jason is. I think you do too. If you want to talk, meet me at the diner off Route 14 at 3 p.m. She replied 5 minutes later, "I've been waiting for you to reach out. I'll be there." At 3:07 p.m., she walked in, mid-30s, sharp eyes, nervous. She sat across from me and didn't bother with small talk. "I was his handler." I blinked. "What?" She sighed. "They called it a protective rehabilitation project." But it was really just manipulation. Troy funded it through shell accounts. Jason was one of 4 guys they trained to approach women who'd left abusive relationships and keep them compliant. I felt the blood drain from my face. You're telling me I was assigned to him? She nodded. But here's the thing. Jason, he fell for you. That's not supposed to happen. My mind was reeling. He tried to get out. He told Troy you were different. He said he wanted to protect you, for real. I scoffed. That's why he cheated? Her eyes dropped. Number that was staged. He needed to push you away. It was the only way out of the deal. Troy was tightening the leash, and Jason cracked. My heart pounded. So what happens now? She looked me dead in the eye. You run. You both run. Because once Troy finds out you know, he won't stop. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about survival. I met Jason that night, in the same motel parking lot where I'd been hiding. I didn't tell him everything. Not yet. Just that I needed to see him and that it was urgent. When he pulled up, headlights off, he looked like he hadn't slept either. I opened the passenger door and got in. My hand trembled on my lap. He just stared ahead for a second, then finally whispered, I thought you'd left me. I stared at him. I did. He flinched, like the words cut deeper than a slap. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a photo, one of the surveillance shots from my phone. I handed it to him without a word. He looked at it for a long time, then exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. So, you know, I nodded. I met her, I said. The woman, your handler. She told me everything. He closed his eyes. God. She said you were supposed to manipulate me, that you were assigned to me. Silence, and then slowly he nodded. That's true. I almost vomited hearing him confirm it, but then he added something that made my stomach twist even harder. I tried to stop. I begged them to let me end it clean. But Troy, he choked. He owns people. You don't leave Troy. Not alive. I'm not a mission, Jason. You never were. That's why I broke the rules. He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought I could fix it. I thought I could buy us time. But Troy, he found out I broke protocol. That's why the messages started, the threats, the cheating thing. I didn't cheat. That was his insurance policy. He sent one of his girls to plant evidence. The texts, the receipts, the panties. I felt dizzy. So, you were trying to push me away? To protect me? He looked at me then, really looked at me, and for once I believed him. I'd rather you hate me and live, he said, than love me and end up like the others. I didn't ask what the others meant. I didn't want to know. But I knew one thing now for certain. Troy was coming. And if we wanted to survive, we had to disappear completely. That night, we burned everything. IDs' credit cards, clothes, the apartment lease, our names. We became ghosts. Over the next few weeks, we changed towns 3 times, used cash, slept in motels under fake names. Jason knew how to vanish. He'd been trained for this. And yet, it wasn't enough. Because one night, in a sleepy town in Arizona, I walked out of a gas station and found a note under our windshield wiper. Just one word. Run. Jason turned pale. He found us. And that was when everything spiraled. The next day we came back to the motel and found the door kicked in. Nothing taken, no message, no sign, except one. Taped to the bathroom mirror was a photo of me, taken from behind, in the same clothes I was wearing that morning. He was watching us in real time. Jason started spiraling. He wanted to split up. Said I'd be safer alone. I refused. We finish this together, I told him, or we don't finish at all. And then, for the first time, he looked truly broken. There's only one way this ends, he whispered. I know, I replied. But this time, We pick the ending, and that's when we made the decision to stop running, to fight back. We were going to expose Troy, everything, the handlers, the rehabilitation program, the women he used. We were going to bring it all down, even if it killed us.